My daughter's laughter echoed through the courtroom, sharp, cruel, rehearsed, and for a moment, everyone turned toward me as if I somehow deserved it. It wasn't the laugh of a child who was nervous. It wasn't the laugh of someone trying to lighten the moment. No, it was the laugh of someone who thought they had already won. She sat beside Daniel, my ex-husband, her arms folded, chin raised with the kind of confidence only manipulation can build. 16 years old, dressed in his favorite shade of blue and carrying his mannerisms like she'd studied them. When her eyes met mine, she didn't look away. If anything, her smile widened. Something inside me sank. Something inside me cracked. And when the judge finally entered and everyone stood, my daughter leaned toward Daniel and whispered something. He smirked. She laughed again. You don't forget the sound of your child mocking your pain. It lives inside you like a bruise that never heals. But before the shock could choke me completely, the judge called my name. Miss Donovan, step forward. My legs felt like they didn't belong to me, but I moved. Barely. The judge adjusted her glasses and looked at me with a kind of measured sadness that made my stomach twist. Before we begin, I need honesty from you, she said gently, because what has been submitted to this court requires clarity. My breath hitched. She continued. Your daughter has accused you of emotional manipulation. It felt like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. I turned toward my daughter, and she stared at me like I wasn't her mother, as if I was a stranger she'd been trained to hate. Judge Haskins watched me carefully. And, she added slowly, a video was submitted as evidence. My heart stuttered. Daniel leaned back in his chair, hands folded behind his head, like he was watching a show he already knew the ending of. My daughter didn't blink. I whispered, "What video?" Instead of answering, the judge's tone softened. Claire, I need you to know something before we go further. I lifted my eyes. The video, she said, appears to be edited. Everything around me shifted. Daniel straightened instantly. My daughter's confident expression faltered. Edited? The judge leaned forward. There are missing segments. The audio jumps, and the metadata suggests multiple cuts. For a brief second, relief washed through me, cold and shaky, until my daughter shot up from her seat. That's not true. Just show her the rest. The judge didn't flinch. Instead, she asked, Lily, who told you to stop the original recording? My daughter hesitated. Her eyes flicked to Daniel, and in that tiny hesitation, the entire courtroom shifted. Judge Haskins' voice dropped lower, calmer, heavier. Lily, you are under oath. Silence. Then, Dad told me to. Gasps broke out. Daniel froze. And in that instant, everything inside me collapsed and rebuilt itself in the same breath, pain and vindication tearing me in different directions. But before any of us could process it, my daughter said something else, something heavier, something darker, something that ripped open a wound I didn't even know she carried. Her voice trembled. I moved out because Dad told me Mom was hiding something about my birth. My world stopped. I felt my fingers go numb. Hiding something? About her birth? What was Daniel telling her? Before I could even form the question, the judge banged her gavel sharply. We'll recess for 30 minutes. This new claim needs to be addressed privately before we continue. The gavel struck again. My daughter stormed out. Daniel followed, panic starting to leak through his practiced calm. And I stood frozen, alone at the plaintiff's table, trying not to collapse. That's the moment where the rest of my story begins. Because betrayal never starts in a courtroom. It begins quietly, in kitchens, in childhood bedrooms, in whispered conversations you're never meant to hear. So before I tell you what happened next, before I reveal the truth behind my daughter's words, I need to take you back to where the real betrayal started, to where everything began to crack. I'm 32 years old, and the only thing I ever wanted in life was peace. That was my emotional goal. Peace in my home, peace in my marriage, peace with my daughter, a life where we weren't walking on broken glass every day. But Daniel thrived in chaos. He wasn't a monster, not at first. He was charming, charismatic, funny. The kind of man who could make a stranger feel like family in 5 minutes. But he needed admiration the way normal people need oxygen. And when I stopped being impressed by his grand gestures and half-truths, he started looking for that admiration somewhere else. At work. Online. On girls' night outs he wasn't invited to. On weekends he suddenly needed to get away. I spent years trying to patch holes in our marriage while he dug new ones. But the real fracture began when Lily turned 14. She was always a quiet child, thoughtful, sensitive, the kind who apologized when someone bumped into her. But suddenly, she changed. Her tone sharpened. Her patience disappeared. She treated me like an inconvenience. And Daniel fed every spark of teenage rebellion with lighter fluid. One night, I overheard them in the kitchen. Daniel, she doesn't get you like I do. Lily, she always thinks I'm dramatic. That's because she still wants to control everything. She's threatened by how mature you're becoming. Threatened? By my own child? I stepped back from the doorway before they saw me, my heart thudding painfully against my ribs. This wasn't normal. This wasn't teen rebellion. This was Daniel shaping her into his ally. Every gift he bought her, new shoes, expensive headphones, makeup I couldn't afford, drew her closer to him. Every lie he whispered nudged her further from me. He wasn't just co-parenting. He was campaigning, and I was the opponent. It was late, almost midnight. I walked past Lily's room and heard her on video call, her voice sharp in a way I didn't recognize. No, Dad, she's overreacting again. Don't worry, I recorded everything. Recorded? My heart dropped. I stepped into the doorway. Recorded what, Lily? She jumped and slammed her laptop shut. You're always listening. You're suffocating. This is why I can't stand being here. The words hit harder than she knew. Behind the closed laptop, Daniel's faint voice crackled. Lily? Lily, answer me. She shut it completely. Her glare could have cut through steel. The next day, she left to stay with him for a while. She never came back. As the room emptied, I remained standing, my hands trembling against the wooden table. The judge hadn't just dropped the bomb. She had detonated something older, something buried, something I prayed would never be dragged into the light again. My daughter believed Daniel's lie, a lie linking her entire identity to a secret I'd sworn I would take to my grave. And now that lie was about to become the center of a legal battle. I sat slowly, gripping the edge of the chair. The courtroom door clicked open. and the bailiff approached me. "Ms. Donovan," he said gently, "the judge asked you to wait here. She wants to speak to you privately before we resume." My chest tightened. This wasn't about the edited video anymore. This was about the lie Daniel fed her, and the truth I've been running from for 16 years. A truth I feared would destroy her if she ever learned it. The door closed. Silence filled the room. And for the first time in years, I realized I wasn't just fighting my ex-husband. I was fighting my past. And my past was finally catching up. 30 minutes. That's all the judge gave us. 30 minutes before the truth, or Daniel's version of it, would be dragged out under fluorescent lights and legal formalities. 30 minutes before my daughter would walk back into this room believing I had lied to her about the one thing I never wanted to lie about. The bailiff motioned for me to follow him to a small consultation room behind the courtroom. I walked in, sat down, tried to breathe. Judge Haskins entered a moment later, closing the door gently behind her. She wasn't wearing her robe now, just the navy suit and glasses, making her look more human, somehow softer. She didn't sit at first. She studied me, like she was trying to piece together the version of the story I hadn't spoken yet. "Claire," she said finally, taking a seat opposite me, "I need you to tell me what she meant. The claim about her birth. Is there any truth behind it?" My heart started pounding. I hated that question. I've been dreading it for 16 years. "It's complicated," I whispered. Judge Haskins nodded slowly. She didn't push. "Not yet." "Your daughter believes you hid something from her," she said gently. "And Daniel presenting this at a custody hearing suggests he wants to weaponize whatever this is." I swallowed hard. Of course he did. That was his specialty, turning cracks into earthquakes. "What did he tell her?" I asked, my voice barely steady. The judge folded her hands. "She told her you lied about who her biological father is." The room tilted. My breath left me. My fingers went cold. My voice broke. "I never lied to her." But that wasn't fully true, and both of us knew it. Judge Haskins didn't react. She waited. I looked at my hands, shaking, weak, guilty. "I never lied to hurt her," I said softly. "I didn't hide anything to manipulate her. I did it to protect her." "Protect her from what?" the judge asked quietly. I closed my eyes, and the past pulled me back whether I wanted it or not. I was 26, living in a small apartment with peeling wallpaper and a dream of a life better than the one I had grown up in. And I was in love. Desperately. Stupidly. His name wasn't Daniel. His name was Ethan Ward. He was older. Not too old, but enough that people tilted their heads when they saw us together. He was handsome in the dangerous way, charming in the addictive way, and unstable in the quiet way you don't notice until you're already drowning. He taught me intensity before he taught me affection. He loved me with fire, then burned me with the same match. Our relationship was a cycle. Highs that felt like heaven and lows that felt like punishment. But the night where everything fell apart came after I found a message on his phone from another woman. Not a flirt, not a joke. A confession from him to her. "I'm done with Claire. She's too emotional. You're the one I want." My world shattered. I confronted him. He didn't apologize. He didn't explain. He laughed. "You should have known you weren't enough."
Those words changed me. I left him that night. 2 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. I went back to tell him, not to get him back, but because I believed in honesty. His response? He told me I was lying, told me the baby wasn't his, told me not to contact him again. Then he blocked me on everything. I cried for a week straight, wondering how I was going to do it alone. Then I made a decision. I told myself I would give my child a stable, loving life, even if it was just the two of us. Months later, I met Daniel. Sweet, attentive, supportive Daniel. He knew I was pregnant. He didn't care. He stayed, loved me, loved the baby bump, held my hand during doctor's appointments, cried when Lily was born. He signed her birth certificate without hesitation. He raised her like she was his own, because to him, she was. No questions, no resentment, no judgment. That Daniel is gone now. But he existed once. And that was the truth I never wanted Lily to carry, the fear that she wasn't wanted when she was conceived. She didn't deserve that weight. She didn't deserve the cruelty of Ethan's words. She didn't deserve to feel like anyone doubted her right to exist. So I protected her. I never said she wasn't Daniel's, but I never said she was Ethan's either. I just let her be loved. Judge Haskins sat quietly as I spoke, absorbing every detail. When I finished, she exhaled slowly. So Lily is not biologically Daniel's. No, I whispered, but he knew that from the beginning. And the biological father, is he in the picture at all? I shook my head. No, he made it clear he didn't want her. He disappeared. The judge nodded thoughtfully. And did your daughter ever ask about her biological father? I shook my head. She never did. She never doubted Daniel. She never had a reason to. Until now, the judge murmured. My chest tightened, because that means Daniel intentionally showed her something, said something, fed her something poisonous. He told me I lied. He told me there was a man out there who wanted her and that I hit him. He made her believe I stole a father from her. The judge's eyes sharpened. That's manipulation, she said firmly. Not yours. His. I wiped my eyes, trembling. But why would she believe him? My voice cracked. She used to trust me more than anyone. How did he get to her like this? The judge leaned back. Because he had something you didn't. What? I whispered. Access, influence, and resentment. She paused. And daughters, especially teenage girls, look for the parent who makes them feel understood, not the one who keeps them safe. The words sliced deep. But they were true. Daniel validated her, spoiled her, told her what she wanted to hear, made her feel like the adult, made me the villain every time she didn't get her way. He didn't parent her, he recruited her. And I never stood a chance. Judge Haskins put her hands on the table. Claire, you're not the first mother to face this, and you won't be the last. But if what you're telling me is true, and I believe it is, then we're dealing with a father intentionally alienating a child. That is serious. The weight of her words settled like concrete in my lungs. Alienating, weaponizing, manipulating, all of it done through Lily. Daniel is using the secret because it's the one thing that can break your daughter's loyalty to you. I looked up. "He wants her to hate me?" I whispered. "Yes," the judge said softly. "Because if she hates you, he wins." A knock came on the door. The bailiff poked his head in. "Judge, they're ready." Judge Haskins turned to me. "Claire, when we go back out there, I'm going to ask you a question on the record. It will be difficult, but answer truthfully and trust me. Truth carries more power in a courtroom than manipulation ever will." I nodded, even though my body felt like it was made of shaking glass. As she stood to leave, I felt panic spike in my chest. "Judge," I said quickly. She paused. "My daughter, will she ever understand?" The judge looked at me with a softness that almost broke me. Children don't stay blind forever. Lies have an expiration date. And Daniel's is approaching. She stepped out. The bailiff held the door for me. I stood, walked back towards the courtroom. My heart was pounding so hard, I could hear it in my ears. When the doors opened, the tension hit me like heat from a fire. Daniel sat straight, jaw tight. My lawyer scribbled aggressively. My daughter, she wouldn't even look at me. Judge Haskins sat her seat. The bailiff called, "Court is back in session." Then the judge looked directly at me. "Miss Donovan, I need you to state something clearly for the record." The entire room froze. "Is Daniel Donovan the biological father of your daughter, Lily?" My daughter stiffened. Daniel leaned forward. My throat closed. I opened my mouth, trying to speak, trying to get the truth out. But before a single word could leave my lips, the courtroom door slammed open. Everyone turned. A man stood there. Tall, disheveled, breathless, eyes locked directly on me. And the moment I saw his face, I felt the world collapse under my feet. It was Ethan. The father my daughter never knew. The man I never thought I'd see again. He stepped forward, voice shaking. "I need to speak. I have proof that changes everything." Gasps rippled across the room. Daniel's face drained of color. The judge's eyes widened. And my daughter, for the first time in months, looked at me with something other than hatred. She looked at me with fear.
For a split second, no one in the courtroom breathed. Not the judge, not the bailiff, not Daniel, not even my daughter. Everyone just stared at the man standing in the doorway, the ghost I'd spent 16 years trying to outrun. Ethan Ward, the first man I ever loved, the first man who ever broke me, the biological father my daughter had no idea existed. Time didn't just slow, it collapsed. My lungs forgot how to work, my hands went numb, my vision blurred at the edges. Ethan stepped fully into the courtroom, shoulders squared, but eyes darting nervously, like a man unsure if he'd made the right choice by walking in. He shouldn't have come. He never should have come. Judge Haskins's voice sliced the silence. Sir, you cannot enter the courtroom unannounced. Who are you? Ethan swallowed. My name is Ethan Ward, he said, voice cracking. And I'm Lily's biological father. A murmur erupted across the courtroom. Daniel shot to his feet. That is a lie. Your Honor, this man is here to disrupt proceedings. But Judge Haskins raised her hand sharply. Mr. Donovan, sit down. Daniel clenched his jaw but obeyed. The judge turned back to Ethan. Mr. Ward, you cannot simply appear and make claims without... I have proof, he said, cutting her off. He reached inside his jacket. The bailiff lunged forward. Hands where I can see them. Ethan froze, with his hands raised. Just paper, DNA documents. Everyone exhaled as he slowly pulled out a sealed envelope. I got the test last month because I learned something. He looked directly at me, and the guilt in his eyes nearly buckled my knees. I learned that Daniel has been telling Lily I abandoned her, that I knew about her and chose not to be a father. My stomach dropped, my chest constricted. So that was the poison Daniel fed her. Not just that I hid the truth, but that Ethan rejected her intentionally. The judge gestured to the bailiff, who collected the envelope.
Ethan continued. But that's not the truth, he said, his voice tightening with emotion. Claire never told me she was pregnant. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. What? I whispered. Ethan looked at me like he was afraid I'd strike him. You left, I said softly. You blocked me. You told me I wasn't enough. He flinched. I blocked you because I thought you deserved better. Because I was damaged, immature, running from everything, including myself. But I didn't know you were carrying my child. I shook my head. This couldn't be happening. Not here. Not like this. Daniel jumped back up, slamming his palms on the table. This is ridiculous! Your Honor, this man abandoned Claire 16 years ago, and now he's trying to rewrite history. The judge's gaze turned ice cold. Mr. Donovan, that is enough. If you interrupt again, I will hold you in contempt. Daniel sank, fuming. Even turned toward Lily. My daughter. His daughter. And for the first time, I saw heartbreak cross his face. Lily, he said softly, I didn't know you existed. I never would have walked away from you. She blinked. Her face went pale. Her fingers twitched like she didn't know where to place them. She didn't speak. Not yet. Because when a child's world breaks, they need time before they know which pieces hurt the most. Bailiff, Judge Haskins said, bring me the envelope. She opened it carefully. Her eyes scanned the documents, page after page. Then she looked up. These appear preliminary but legitimate. I'm ordering emergency verification. Daniel shot forward. Your Honor, this is absurd. This man shows up out of nowhere and... Mr. Donovan, she snapped. You don't seem to understand that this is no longer about what you believe. It's about what's true. Daniel pressed his lips together so tightly they turned white. The judge turned to me. Ms. Donovan, did you hide the identity of the biological father from your daughter? The room froze again. My daughter's eyes locked onto me, filled with hurt, fear, and betrayal. I swallowed. And for the first time, I didn't avoid it. I didn't hide. I didn't protect myself with silence. Yes, I said softly. I did. Lily inhaled sharply, as if the truth punched her. But I continued, voice shaking. Because the truth was painful. Because I wanted you to grow up loved. Because I didn't want you to feel unwanted before you were even born. Her tears welled in her eyes, not falling, not yet, but enough to crack something inside me. Ethan stepped forward slightly. And because I didn't give her a reason to trust me, that's on me, not your mother. My daughter looked between us, breathing unevenly. Then her gaze landed on Daniel. Dad, you told me he abandoned her, that he knew. Daniel stiffened. I told you what your mother refused to. No, the judge interjected firmly. You told her what served you. Daniel turned toward her, outraged. Are you accusing me of... Yes, she said flatly. The entire room stilled. Based on what I'm seeing here, this very likely involves parental alienation, a serious offense. Daniel's lawyer jumped up. Your Honor, with all due respect... No, she said. Sit down. He sat. Daniel clenched his fists under the table. Lily looked like she might pass out from the swirl of truths and lies collapsing around her.
Judge Haskins turned to Ethan. Mr. Ward, why did you come today? He swallowed, his voice low, steady, almost too steady. Because, he said, someone sent me an anonymous message last month. The courtroom stiffened. A message containing screenshots of conversations, he continued, between Daniel and Lily, and between Daniel and someone else. My blood froze. Someone else? The judge asked. Ethan nodded. I didn't recognize the number, but the messages implied Daniel planned to use Lily to hurt Claire. That he wanted full custody not for Lily, but to destroy Claire emotionally. My daughter gasped. Daniel slammed his fist onto the table. That's a lie. This is a setup. Judge Haskins glared at him. One more outburst, Mr. Donovan. One. Ethan reached into his pocket, slowly, carefully, and held up his phone. I still have the messages. The number is real. The judge motioned for the bailiff. The courtroom felt like it tilted. Daniel's lawyer rubbed his temples, whispering rapidly to Daniel. Lily stared at the floor, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. I stood there frozen, numb, terrified. Because if Daniel orchestrated this, if he manipulated Lily intentionally, if the messages were real, then the battle was much darker than I ever understood. Judge Haskins addressed Lily directly for the first time since recess. Lily, she said softly, do you understand what is happening right now? My daughter choked on a breath. I don't know what to believe, she whispered. I trusted Dad. He told me Mom didn't want me to know the truth. He said Mom only cared about herself. He said... Her voice broke. I just wanted one parent to talk to me without lying. My heart shattered. Judge Haskins nodded sympathetically. That is completely understandable, she said, but I need you to listen carefully. When adults lie to children, it's not the child's fault. You were misled. That doesn't make you guilty. It makes you human. Lily wiped her tears, but she didn't look at Daniel. She avoided his eyes like the truth was too heavy to face. Judge Haskins breathed deeply, preparing to make an announcement. Given these developments, she said, I am placing a temporary hold on any ruling until the alleged communications are examined and DNA results are verified. Daniel surged forward again. Your Honor, she said, sit. He sat. But he didn't stay quiet. You think this is real?
Daniel spat. "You think this loser," he pointed at Ethan, "just magically decided to show up after 16 years? He's being used." Judge Haskins frowned. "Used by whom?" Daniel froze. "Too long. Just a second too long." The judge noticed. Everyone noticed. Ethan stepped forward again. He said quietly, "That same anonymous number also sent me this." He held up another message on his phone. The judge motioned him closer. Ethan handed the phone to the bailiff, who delivered it to her. She read it silently. Her eyebrows lifted. She looked directly at Daniel, and her voice dropped to a dangerous calm. "Mr. Donovan, do you recognize the number ending in 6821? His throat bobbed. That's not mine." She set the phone down. "You're sure?" He nodded. Too quickly. The judge turned to her clerk. "Run a request to verify the ownership of that number." Daniel's face strained. The judge added, "And cross-reference with any numbers registered to Mr. Donovan or associated with him." Daniel's lawyer's face remained frozen in horror. But it was Lily's reaction that gutted me. She turned slowly towards Daniel. "Dad?" Her voice trembled. "Why do you look scared?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because we all knew. We all knew. But before anyone could speak, before anyone could absorb the consequences unraveling around him, the clerk stepped back into the room, pale, holding a printed sheet. The judge took it, read it, then lifted her eyes. "Mr. Donovan," she said, "the number in question is registered to—" A loud crash cut her off. Everyone whipped around. Daniel had swept the papers off his table in a furious explosion. The judge slammed her gavel down. "Bailiff, secure the defendant." The bailiffs rushed forward. Daniel struggled, fought, shouted something intelligible. But it was Lily's scream that tore through the room. "Dad, stop!" Daniel froze. The bailiff handcuffed him. Judge Haskins spoke over the chaos, voice steady but thunderous. "Mr. Donovan, you are being held in contempt of court." Daniel looked at Lily. Panic, guilt, fury twisting across his face. "Dad," she shouted, "don't believe them. I did it for you." But Lily stepped back, away from him, away from the men who manipulated her, away from the father she thought she knew. And she whispered, "Mom, what happens now?" I opened my mouth to answer, but I didn't get the chance, because at that exact second, the judge looked at the paper in her hand and said the words that sent the entire room into chaos. "The number belongs to someone very close to this case. Someone none of you expect." Everyone turned toward her, waiting, shaking, breath held, until she finally said the name. "It belongs to your sister, Claire." My world stopped.
For a long moment, the entire courtroom went still. No whispers, no gasps, no movement. Just silence. A heavy, suffocating silence, as Judge Haskins' words sank into the air like poison. "The number belongs to your sister, Claire." My sister. My own sister. The woman who held my hand during childbirth, who stayed with me through breakups, who watched Lily grow up like she was her own. My sister? I felt the world shift violently beneath me. "No," I whispered, shaking my head. "No, that has to be wrong." But the judge looked at me with steady, somber eyes. "It is correct," she said. The number sending messages to Mr. Ward and communicating with Mr. Donovan is registered to your sister, Emily Donovan. My heart collapsed into itself. Emily, my older sister, the one person I thought would never hurt me. Lily covered her mouth in shock. Daniel froze mid-struggle, confusion flashing across his face before panic returned. The judge continued. It appears your sister may have been involved in orchestrating the misinformation, the emotional manipulation, and the narrative used against you. The room spun. My vision blurred. Emily? I whispered, barely breathing. Why would she? But the answer came before the question finished forming. Because some people don't want your life. They want your life ruined. Just then, the courtroom doors swung open. Emily stepped inside. Calm, expressionless, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. Not frantic, not shocked, like she already knew she'd be called. She walked forward slowly, ignoring the stairs, ignoring the bailiff reaching toward her, ignoring the judge's rising tension. Her eyes locked onto mine, and she smiled. A small, sad smile. I figured it would come out eventually, she said softly. Lily recoiled. Ethan's fists clenched. Daniel went rigid in his restraints. And I felt something inside me break in a way it never had before. Emily? I managed. What did you do? She exhaled. Exactly what I needed to. Judge Haskins motioned for the bailiff to hold her, but Emily raised her hands peacefully. I'm not here to fight, she said coolly. I'm here to explain. No one spoke. She turned her gaze to Lily. You deserve to know the truth, and your father, she gestured toward Daniel, was the only one willing to give you answers. Lily shook her head violently. You lied to me. You pretended to care about me. Emily cut her off. No, sweetheart, I do care, but I care about the truth more. Judge Haskins slammed her gavel once. Miss Donovan, explain your involvement now. Emily's eyes softened, not with guilt, but with something worse. The confidence of someone who believes she was justified. Claire has had everything handed to her, she said, glancing at me. Good job. Did family. A daughter who adored her. A husband who worshipped her for years. My mouth dropped open. Emily, I whispered, you had all of those things too. No, she snapped. No, Claire, I didn't. Her face twisted with bitterness. You were always the favorite, the golden one. Mom loved you more. Dad trusted you more. You were the one who never got in trouble, made mistakes, never disappointed anyone. I felt my stomach twist. That's not true, I whispered. To you. But to me? I spent my entire life being compared to you. Your marriage, your daughter, your perfect little world. She laughed bitterly. So when Daniel came to me, angry, broken, ready to take something away from you, something you valued more than anything, I helped him. My blood turned to ice. You helped him manipulate Lily? I said, my voice cracking. You helped him convince her I was lying? You helped him make her hate me? Emily didn't flinch. I helped her see the truth. No, I whispered. You helped destroy her. Lily stared at Emily with betrayal dripping from her eyes. Why me, Lily? Why me? Lily choked out. Why bring me into this? Emily's expression softened with not remorse, but with a twisted justification. Because you were the one thing Claire loved with her entire heart. And sometimes, sweetheart, people need to lose something to understand their place. The words sliced through me. Judge Haskins' face hardened. Ms. Donovan, I'm ordering an immediate investigation into your communication with Mr. Donovan and any involvement in influencing or coaching the child. You may be facing charges for interference in custody proceedings. Emily's jaw tightened, but she didn't fight. Instead, she looked at me again, with something almost like regret. Maybe now you'll understand what it feels like to be second. She whispered.
The bailiff started to lead her away, but Lily suddenly shouted, "Stop!" Everyone turned. She stood trembling, tears pouring down her face. "You don't get to talk about my life like it's some game," Lily screamed. "You lied. You made Dad lie. You made me hate Mom." Her voice cracked into sobs. "You broke us." Emily's face flickered, but only for a second. Before she could respond, Lily rushed to me and wrapped her arms around me, for the first time in almost a year. I froze. Then I held her so tight I didn't know where I ended and she began. Her body shook with sobs. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know." I kissed her hair, tears streaming down my face. "It's not your fault," I whispered. "You were lied to. You were used." Behind us, Daniel let out a rough, broken sound as the bailiff pulled him toward the exit. "Lily!" he shouted. "Lily, don't listen to—" She cut him off. "Dad, stop!" Her voice was raw. "You did this. You made all this happen. You let Aunt Emily use me. You made me hate my own mother. How could you?" Daniel stopped fighting. For the first time, his face crumpled, not with anger, but with realization, with regret, with the weight of losing the one person he thought he controlled. But Lily wasn't done. "And you," she said, turning to Emily, "you're not family anymore." Her face fell at that alone, before she was escorted out. The courtroom felt hollow once she was gone, like the air itself had been poisoned and taken with her. Judge Haskins cleared her throat, regaining control of the room. "Given the overwhelming evidence of manipulation, this hearing will be suspended, pending a full investigation into Daniel Donovan and Emily Donovan's actions." She turned to me gently. "Miss Donovan, for now, your daughter will remain in your care." I felt Lily grip my hand tighter. Ethan stepped forward. "Your Honor, I want to be in my daughter's life, but I will do it in whatever way is best for her. I'm not here to take anything away from Claire. I want a chance." Lily looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. There was confusion in her eyes, fear, curiosity, pain, hope. A storm of emotions no child should ever have to carry. "We'll take it slow," the judge said firmly, "one step at a time." Later, when the building emptied and the tension faded like a ghost behind us, Lily and I walked outside hand in hand. The air felt different, lighter, quieter, fragile. We sat on a bench outside the courthouse, just the two of us, watching cars pass by. She leaned her head against my shoulder. "Mom?" she whispered. "Yes, baby?" Are we okay? I looked at her. Really looked at her. Her swollen eyes, her trembling fingers, her bruised innocence. And in that moment, I realized something. Healing wasn't going to happen in one hug, or one conversation, or one day. Healing would be slow, painful, messy. But we would heal. Because love, real love, survives lies, survives manipulation, survives betrayal, survives broken families and hidden truths. Yes, I whispered, kissing the top of her head. We're okay, and we're going to stay okay. She exhaled shakily. I'm sorry I hurt you, she whispered. You didn't hurt me, I said softly. You were hurting, and someone used that against both of us. She wrapped her arms around me again. Can I stay with you tonight? She whispered. I swallowed hard. Baby, I said, my voice breaking. You can stay with me forever. Weeks later, after investigations, therapy sessions, and countless late-night conversations, the truth settled. Daniel faced consequences for manipulation. Emily faced charges for interference. Ethan slowly re-entered Lily's life with caution and respect. And Lily learned something priceless. Love is not about who tells you what you want to hear. It's about who tells you the truth, even when it hurts. As for me, I learned that sometimes the deepest betrayals come from the people closest to you, but so do the deepest healings. Because when everything broke, the only thing that remained was the strength I didn't know I had, and the daughter I refused to give up on. Have you ever faced betrayal from someone you trusted deeply? Share your story in the comments.